Alright, as said, let us start with understanding how we can access files from our C# code. Many applications will have a need to work with files, and our application can benefit from it too. If you're creating a word processing application, then you'll need to store the entered text to a file. If you're creating an application that allows a user to create or edit an image, that image should probably be stored in a file as well. And of course, also custom line of business applications like ours can work with files to store information entered by the user, which can then later on be read out. Applications like ours will either store this information in a file or in a database. In this course, we'll look at how we can store it in a file as said. In C# applications, we can work with the classes of the System.io namespace, part of the .NET library, to work with files, paths, and directories. The directory class has methods available to allow us to create directories or check if a directory already exists. We'll see what these methods are in just a second. Using the file class, we can create a file, copy a file, move a file, and so on. The path class, also part of System.io, can be used to work with strings that contain information of the path of a file or a directory. Next to these classes, an alternative set exists that you'll also often see being used, and those are the file info and the directory info. I will stick to the file and directory classes in this course. As said, the directory class allows us to work with directories, so folders on the local system. Say that in our application we want to store the employee information in a certain file. We'll probably want to store it in a specific directory. We can, from our application, create that directory using the createDirectory method. That method accepts a string that contains the part of the directory we want to create. The createDirectory is a static method. Do you remember what being a static method means? It means we can call it directly on the class name. So we can use directory.createDirectory. We can, before creating the directory, check if it already exists using the exists method, passing in again the path. And deleting a directory can also be done using the delete method. I think that's a good name for it. The file class also has quite a few methods on board that we can use to do file interaction from our C# code. Using the move method, we can move a file, the source, to another location, the destination. Copy is similar, which won't touch the source file, it'll just copy it. Just like with directory, we have an exists method that we can use to check if a file exists before creating a new one. And delete, well, yes, that does what we expect it to do. The file class also has methods to work with file contents. The read all text, for example, is one of these. We can use it with a path that points to a text file. This will open the file, read all the text, and then close the file again. In a very similar way, the writeAllText method can be used to write a string to a file. The text passed in as parameter is the text that will be written to the file. We'll see both of them in action later in the module. Here you can see a small snippet that uses the file class. First, I have in a string the path of the file I want to work with. Then, using the file.exists method, we can see if a file exists. That is a static method as said, and it will return a Boolean value. Only if the file exists will we call the delete method on it, again passing in the string path to the file.